gang, your guitar stage. How you doing? Yeah, long time no see. Hey, guess what we're doing today? Suspension chords. Yep, that's why you're here. Because you saw I said suspension chords there in the title, and you're like, I want to know how to play suspension chords. Well, here we are. We're going to learn how to play them, right? What's a suspension chord? You've probably seen this before. When you're looking at a chart, and it'll say something like D sus, right? It does not stand for sustain, all right? It stands for suspended or suspension. We'll go into the history of all that in a minute, but sustain is this. You hit a note and it keeps singing out. You go out, have a bite, come back, still going. All right, that's sustain. Suspension is when we do this. You've probably done this before. That sort of sound, like a regular D and a D suspended, right? Or on a C chord, it might sound something like this. You can also put your pinky here. A G suspended would sound something like this. Lay that first finger down there. E suspended. A suspended. Okay, so let's talk about what is a suspension. A suspension is when a note is, this is a really loose definition, it's basically when a note is at unrest in a chord. Basically it wants to resolve back to, specifically here, most of the suspensions that we're going to be talking about, or for sure, the only ones we're going to be talking about today are 4-3 suspensions and 2-3 suspensions. But basically resolving to the 3 of the chord. What are you talking about, Eric? Let me tell you, there's a couple things that would be very helpful for you to know regarding coming up with these suspension chords and knowing some basic theory, okay? So there's a couple things you need to know. If you don't know these already, go get my ebook. That ebook 1 will totally help you with this stuff, but you need to know how to play a major scale. A major scale is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, right? This is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. You need to know how to do that, or you need to be able to play the scale. You don't know how to do that, go to yourguitarstage.com, go get the ebook, and it'll help you a ton with that. Also a bunch of other concepts that we're going to be talking about today. If you don't have those, you need to know. Okay, so you need to know how to play your major scale, because we need to know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. We need to be able to do that. We need to know your open chords, because we're going to be coming up with these suspensions. So, a suspension is when we have a note that's kind of at unrest and it wants to resolve. Here we have a D chord. Okay? And for most of the suspensions that you'll be playing in rock and country, pop, that sort of thing, we have, it's typically a 4-3 suspension. Okay? Again, it's when that one note wants to resolve down. You can do this with just about any chord. And when I mean just about, I mean every chord you can do it with, okay? So I don't think I've run into one that you can't do it with. So here we go. So remember, when we're analyzing a chord, like a D chord, we need to use the D major scale to analyze it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Those are our 7, 8 notes that we need to know there. So a 4-3 suspension is when we go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we take that 4th note and resolve it to the 3. Or in this case, where we're playing a D chord, that's our 3. They're octave apart, so you can hear that. And so the suspension, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the suspension. Here's the high suspension. So when we play this chord, that's why it sounds like it wants to resolve back to the 3. Okay? Maybe confused, stick with me. You're learning a new concept here. By the way, this, I just remembered, this, what we're doing here is called chord noodling, and I have a whole study about this. I've got videos on this here on YouTube, and then I've also got fretboard maps that are in that ebook one that will help out a ton with this sort of thing. But basically, chord noodling is basically what I call chord noodling, is when you take chords and you kind of embellish them to come up with tunes. That sort of thing, and you got to know what notes that you're able to do that with. So I'm just playing just a basic D and a basic G chord there, but I'm doing this little move around bit here, which I call noodling. Not to be mistaken with ramen noodles or rice noodles, which I love. Let's talk about another chord. So a C chord. Let's say you're coming across a chart. This is what I teach my students so that they can find out a chord that they've never played before. Here's a C chord, right? You know it, you love it, but then you're reading the chart and it says C sus. What do we do? Well, let me tell you. Take your C major chord out. Don't whine, that's easy. If you don't know that, you need to go learn that freaking scale. It's easy. You can play it all the way up the neck in every key. Babies do this. And you can do it too. Just learn it, okay? Go get the ebook. So when you have that, it's a handy little tool. Now we can figure out what our C suspension chord is, right? Because we're going to go to the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There it is. And now we add that note to our C chord. So instead of the 3, you play the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Isn't that sexy? Sure it is. We could also play the 4 up an octave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or what? Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's another 4. We could, instead of playing this C, we could add that 4 note in there, and you get a nice C suspension. Get it? Of course you do. And we could add this note to add both of them. Okay, those were both suspensions. All right, you get it? Let's do one more for kicks and giggles. Man, if you don't know the major scale, learn it, okay? It's basic stuff, you gotta know it. And these noodles, go get them, all right? G major, let's do it real quick. Let's get out of here, we got things to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, that's what we want, right? Here's a G chord. How do we play a G sus? Eric, I've never played one in my life, I don't know how to do it. Yeah, you do now, because you got the tools right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, so you add that guy. But listen, let your ear tell you if it's cool or not. This is going to be a little bit quirky. So that's cool, but these notes, a little gooey in my opinion. I would like to hear this note, the 4, up an octave. Remember how we did that? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we said 1, 2, 3, 4. We said we can't play that note unless we're Martian, so we need to take it down to the next high string on the first fret. And now add that note to your G chord. How do we do that? You're going to have to finagle your fingers a little bit, free up number 1. And now, it's beautiful. It's lovely. And then we want to resolve it, of course, to a, okay? Now, we're done, but I want to tell you one other thing about suspensions here. We could just as well go from the 2 to the 3. Remember, what we've been doing is going from the 4 to the 3 each time here. We could be going from the 2, or we could be going from the 2 to the 3. So, how would we do that? Well, for instance, if we wanted to do, D is an easy one. So remember, this was the 3, this was the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4. Well, here's the, this is 4, this is 3, this is 2. So it's considered a suspension chord if you resolve it. Who's texting me? Brittany again. Golly, girl doesn't leave me alone. Yes, Britney Spears. She loves the sage. All right, so here we go. So we got 4, 3, 2. So if you resolve it to here, you're going to get a suspension chord. It's also called a 9 chord. So that's why I'm just going to give you a little bit of that, because usually when we're talking suspensions, we're talking the 4/3. Okay, that's all. Get out of here. Go practice. Go to yourguitarstage.com, get the ebook, and yeah.